Mrs. Rabbit went into town. Mrs. Rabbit had 4 little bunnies. Their names were Mopsy, Flopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. Mopsy, Flopsy, Cottontail, and Peter lived in a hole under a tree. One day, Mrs. Rabbit said, "We need bread. I will go into town to buy some." Mrs. Rabbit grabbed her basket and an umbrella. Mrs. Rabbit looked at Mopsy, Flopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. "I will be back soon," Mrs. Rabbit said. "Can we go outside?" Peter asked. "Yes," Mrs. Rabbit said, "but don't go into the farmer's garden. Your father went there, and he never came home." "Okay, Mother," Mopsy, Flopsy, Cottontail, and Peter responded in unison. Mrs. Rabbit headed off to town. The 4 bunnies put on their jackets and shoes, then they went outside. Mopsy, Flopsy, Cottontail, and Peter hopped down the path. "Look over there!" Mopsy exclaimed. "I see a blackberry bush." "Yum!" Flopsy and Cottontail chimed in. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail ran toward the bush. Peter's sisters started to pick blackberries. "I don't want blackberries," Peter thought. "I'm going to the farmer's garden." Peter made his way into the garden, wandering through the woods. A path led to the gate. Peter Rabbit squeezed under the gate and looked around. "I see green leaves everywhere," Peter Rabbit exclaimed. Peter Rabbit wandered through the garden. Peter Rabbit ate some lettuce, he ate some green beans, and he nibbled on radishes. "These vegetables are delicious," Peter Rabbit declared. "I'll eat more." Then he turned around the corner. Peter Rabbit gasped. The farmer gasped as well. "A rabbit!" Peter Rabbit ran. The farmer grabbed a rake. "Stop, thief!" cried the farmer. The farmer swung his rake at Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit ran as fast as he could. Peter Rabbit's heart beat fast. Peter Rabbit lost one shoe near the cabbages. He lost his other shoe near the potatoes. "Rabbit! Where's the gate?" cried Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit looked around. Suddenly, Peter Rabbit ran into a net. The big buttons on Peter Rabbit's jacket got caught. "Help!" cried Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit kicked and twisted, but it was no help. "I'm stuck in this net," cried Peter Rabbit. "Help!" cried Peter Rabbit again. Some birds flew over Peter Rabbit. The birds tried to help him. "Don't give up," called one bird. "Keep trying to get free," shouted another. "Take off your jacket," urged a different bird. Peter Rabbit stopped crying quickly. Peter Rabbit slipped out of his jacket. Peter was now free. However, the farmer was still chasing Peter. Peter ran away quickly. "Get back here!" shouted the farmer. The farmer dashed toward the shed, which was filled with garden tools. Peter leaped into a watering can. Splash! The can was filled with icy water, which startled Peter. The farmer rushed into the shed. "Where is that rabbit?" inquired the farmer. Peter shivered as Peter heard the farmer moving things around. The farmer was looking for Peter. "Where are you, Rabbit?" muttered the farmer. The farmer's footsteps grew closer now. "Uh-oh," whispered Peter. Peter felt a tickle in his nose. The tickle in Peter's nose grew worse. Peter let out a loud sneeze. "Aha!" exclaimed the farmer. In the midst of the chaos, Peter jumped out of the watering can. "Hey!" shouted the farmer. Peter ran away swiftly. Eventually, the farmer stopped chasing Peter. Now Peter found himself lost. "Where's the gate?" Peter asked a nearby mouse. However, the mouse scurried away. Suddenly, Peter gasped as he spotted a cat. The cat was intently watching the fish in the pond. The cat remained oblivious to Peter's presence. Peter whispered to himself, "I must find the gate." Scritch, scratch. Peter heard a noise. He climbed onto a wheelbarrow to get a better view. The farmer was working in the onion patch. Scritch, scratch. The farmer saw something else, the gate. The farmer cried, "Peter!" Peter shot across the garden. The farmer chased Peter. "Stop, Rabbit," but Peter was too fast. Peter squeezed under the gate to get home. Mrs. Rabbit scolded Peter. "Naughty Rabbit! You lost your jacket and shoes." Mrs. Rabbit had other bread and blackberries, but Peter didn't get any. Peter sneezed. Mrs. Rabbit gave Peter medicine, then sent Peter to bed. Clop, 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 clop. A horse walked along the road. The horse was pulling a wagon. "It's the farmer and his wife," thought Benjamin Bunny. "They are going to town." Benjamin Bunny smiled, thinking about finding his cousin, Peter Rabbit. Benjamin Bunny approached a tree and peeked inside. Mrs. Rabbit was knitting. "I don't want to talk to her," thought Benjamin Bunny. He saw Flopsy Bunny, Mopsy Bunny, and Cottontail Bunny. "Where's Peter Rabbit?" thought Benjamin Bunny. He went to the other side of the tree and crawled into a hole. And there was Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit was wearing a red handkerchief and looked sad. "Where are your clothes?" Benjamin Bunny asked with a sniff. "I lost them in the farmer's garden. I went there yesterday, and the farmer chased me," Peter Rabbit replied. "I have good news," Benjamin Bunny announced. "The farmer and his wife went to town. We can look for your clothes." Benjamin Bunny and Peter Rabbit walked through the woods. At last, they came to a stone wall. "The garden is over there," Peter Rabbit said. The two rabbits climbed onto the wall. Peter Rabbit gasped. "Look at that scarecrow. It's wearing shoes." "Let's get them back," Benjamin Bunny suggested. Peter expressed uncertainty about the situation. Benjamin reassured Peter that everything would be fine. Benjamin grabbed a pear tree and then slid into the garden. Peter followed Benjamin without hesitation. Peter ran toward the scarecrow. Peter removed his shoes, and water poured out of them. Peter remarked that it seemed to have rained the previous night. Peter took a handkerchief and put on his jacket. Peter noted that his jacket had shrunk in the rain. The scarecrow also wore a hat. Benjamin tried on the hat and declared it much too big for him. Peter indicated that it was indeed the scarecrow's hat and looked around nervously. Peter suggested that they should leave immediately. "No," said Benjamin. "Onions." The Tale of Benjamin Bunny, Episode 3, A Walk in the Garden 1709. Benjamin held up Peter's handkerchief. Benjamin said he put the onions on the ground. "We can carry them." Benjamin went into an onion patch. He pulled up an onion. "This is nice one, Benjamin." He pulled up another onion. Peter looked around. His nose wiggled. Benjamin pulled up more onions. He rolled them onto the handkerchief. "Let's go," said Peter. "This garden isn't safe." "It's fine," said Benjamin. Benjamin Bunny came to the garden all the time to visit his father. Benjamin Bunny ate a lettuce leaf and said, yummy." As Benjamin Bunny walked deeper into the garden, he kept an eye on the handkerchief he had brought for his cousin, Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit asked, "What was that noise? Is the farmer coming?" Benjamin Bunny replied, "It's nothing," and continued walking. Peter Rabbit followed closely behind. The two rabbits walked past flower pots and tools when suddenly Benjamin Bunny gasped and exclaimed, "I see a cat!" The two rabbits slipped behind a basket and waited quietly. They could hear the cat sniffing around. The cat jumped onto the basket and settled down on it. When would Benjamin's father leave? Benjamin wondered. Benjamin thought about how awful the smell of the onions was. Tears filled Peter's eyes. The cat did not leave. The cat sat on the basket for 5 hours. At last, Benjamin and Peter heard something. "Benjamin!" someone called. Whispered Benjamin. The cat looked up at the wall. Suddenly, a large rabbit jumped down. That large rabbit kicked the cat. Slam! The large rabbit pushed the cat inside the greenhouse. Then, bang! The large rabbit locked the door. Benjamin's father lifted the basket. "You are in big trouble, Benjamin," Benjamin's father said. Later that day, Mr. Thompson, the farmer, returned from town. "What happened?" Mr. Thompson cried. Small footprints were everywhere. The scarecrow's clothes were gone, and the cat was locked in the greenhouse. Mrs. Rabbit was upset about Peter, but she was glad to see him. "You're safe, Peter," Mrs. Rabbit said. "And you got back.